Hello and welcome to this week's New at 2. Sorry we've had to miss you for a couple of weeks, but we are back this week in Oklahoma City. My name is Kaylin and I'm actually here with our OKC educator Dee today. And we wanted to show you something that we just finished as a sample that we thought you really needed to see. So if you want to come in a little bit closer here, what we're going to show you today is this adorable hummingbirds pattern. Let me get to the page with the whole quilt on it. Oh my gosh, look at that. And what's fun about this is that it actually utilizes 2.5-inch strips, pre-cut strips, to make a Dresden plate. It's from this great book, Rolling Along, which is all different quilts using 2.5-inch strips. And I love Dresden plates. I don't know about you guys, but I thought it's such a fun way to eliminate some of the cutting that you have to do that I wanted to kind of walk you guys through how we do this.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, let me put this over here for myself. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our 2.5-inch strip that we have cut down to a 5.5-inch length, okay? So the first thing you're gonna do is just cut a bunch of your strips down to this length. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold it in half, hot dog style. I can never remember if it's lengthwise or widthwise, but my teacher taught me hot dog and hamburger style, so that's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna come over here to the chorus. And what I've got is I've got my 1/4-inch foot on the machine with the guide. I like the guide if it's edge seaming because it helps just hold up the edge of my fabric there. So I'll just place my material under there, right up against that guide. I have it on a centered straight stitch, which is good for this foot because as you can see, it has just that center hole. And I'm just gonna do my stitch straight along that, and then I'll trim my threads. And what I'm going to do is I've got my seam here. I'm going to actually by hand a little bit here flip my seam allowance out. And in the instructions it really just wants me to finger press it down because you're just kind of getting it going so that you can then take that and push the corner out. And then of course you can take whatever tool you like to use to poke out the corner. Roll it in your fingers, use an actual point turner like a grown-up, whatever you want to do. And then what you'll have is the start of your Dresden plate piece. So like magic, you take it to the iron and you get it pressed nice and flat, okay? And you're gonna do this until you don't think you can do it anymore, depending on how many Dresden plates you want to make. So what you'll have then is in the pattern, it has this wedge shape. So what we did was we made a quick copy of the page. You can also just trace it on the page if you want. We cut this out and then we grabbed our stitch and shape, which is normally a stabilizing product for the bottoms of bags or for freestanding like table toppers. But today we thought, hey, why not be a template? And we traced the template here. We cut this out, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this piece and you're gonna tuck it into the corner there. And you're gonna take your marking tool, whichever one you prefer. I like the purple ones. Some people prefer different ones, but whichever one you wanna use. And you're gonna mark your lines on both sides here of your material, because this is gonna be your stitching line. If you want, you can do it on the outside to get the top part of that line too. And what you'll have is your stitch line for attaching one piece to the next. So you see here we've got it on 2 pieces. This one might be a little more faint at this point. What we'll do is we'll line these pieces up just like that, and our markings are going to be aligned. And I'm going to come over here.
You want to start about 1/8 of an inch down from the top of where you're stitching.
So we'll start just
stitching. Yeah.
Just that 1/8 of an inch down. Now I don't need this paddle anymore. I could switch my foot if I want, but it's not going to cause me any problems. So I'm just going to lay it down here. I'm 1/8 of an inch into my my actual fabric here. And what I'm also going to do, if you come over to my screen real quick, I'm going to select stitch number 4 on this machine, which is a centered straight stitch. But instead of a double line at the top, there is a single dot at the top. What that means is when I select my automatic reinforcement and trim, it's going to do three stitches in place at the beginning of my seam instead of a back stitch, which can add bulk to seams like these. So if you watch carefully, what you'll see is when I start here, it'll stitch in place, then it goes forward. I'm not worried about following my paddle, I'm worried about following my marked line. I get to the end. Now, I happen to know from having already seen this in progress that I don't necessarily need to actually reinforce the end. But if you wanted to, if you want that same stitch in place reinforcement, you can hit the circle. If you do want a back stitch, you can hit this one and it'll override that. But I'm just gonna go ahead and hit my scissor button for this one. So what you're gonna have then is your seamed Dresden plate here. And then all you gotta do is trim this to that nice 1/4 inch line so that your seam allowance, where did it go? I had a sample of this. There we go. So that your seam allowance is back to just that 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then you'll just open this up and you'll have your Dresden plate. And you'll just keep adding and adding and adding and adding. And as you go, what you're gonna get is this beautiful Dresden plate effect. And then if you'll come over here to where we have our finished quilt, what you'll see is that your plate goes onto a piece of fabric cut to the size of the finished block. It gets top stitched in place. And then Clever D went ahead and scanned the circle into IQ Designer for our topper and just set it to a satin stitch. And so all the circles on all of our beautiful flowers are IQ Designer stitched into place, which is, I'm going to tell you, a lot easier than trying to make a perfect circle when you are sewing on your own. So we just loved this so much that we wanted to share it with you. The pattern even uses a partial Dresden plate to make the wings of the hummingbirds, where the quilt actually gets its name from. And so we just thought you guys would love this and had to share with you.
It was a lot. I've never made a Dresden, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
And I mean, it's just beautiful and bright and summery. So I think you knocked it out of the park. So before we let you go, couple things. Next week, if you want to come over here to my flyers, next week is our next session of Kids Camp at 4 of our locations. There are still a couple of slots left in some of our stores. You'll have to check online because it's changing every day. But we do have the AM session from 9 a.m. to noon or the PM session from 2 to 5 available for July 14th and 18th at Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Fayetteville, and Humble. Again, some of these sessions are already full, but they'll be marked as sold out on our website. So if you want to get your kiddo into a spot to learn how to sew with us, there might still be time at your location. We also have it coming up one more week in Tulsa, the 21st to the 25th, if you want one last chance at it there as well. We've been having a great time with our kiddos so far this summer, and we're excited to see the next batch next week. And of course, this week also is the start of July Club. This is just the Oklahoma City schedule. Each store has it on a different date so that Jory can come to all the different stores. I believe today actually is already Fayetteville's club, but Springfield's tomorrow. OKC is Thursday. And then we've got the next week is going to be Humble and, oh my gosh. Yes, no, what's the other one? Oh my gosh. Tulsa.
I was going to say Tulsa's last.
Sorry, it feels like a Monday even though it's not. So check on our website for the dates that are going to be at the best location for you, and we would love to have you at our Emerald Club. We're going to be featuring Christmas in July, so some things that are gifts for people, some things that are kind of supplies for Christmas. I think you guys will really like what we have to show you this week, and we hope to see you there. Now, of course, last but not least, for New at 2, got to give something away. I love this book. I think every pattern in here is just so adorable. So I think what we need to do today is give away a copy of the Moda Bake Shop Rolling Along quilt book. What do you think, Dee?
I think that's great.
Awesome. Okay, so you guys know what to do. If you want to be entered to win this book, you need to like, share, or comment on this post by Thursday at 5 p.m. And then you'll be entered in the drawing to be to have a chance at winning this book. Now, of course, only one person can win, and we want all of our viewers to be able to get extra benefits out of being New It Too watchers. So for those of you that don't win, and those that do, I guess, we will also go ahead and do 25% off all of our in-stock quilt pattern books. So go to your local Be Sew In and tell them that you saw this at New It Too to get that great discount on the books. And I guess that's all I got for you. Thanks for joining us at New It Too this week. We're glad to be back after a couple weeks of being super busy. Not that we're not still busy. And we will